All right. I think this is going to be the last one. Getting ready to answer question 22 and 23 right close together. And then from there, we'll see where it goes.
You want to reclaim your salt. Just let it cool down. Put it in a colander and stick it under cold running water very, very briefly until it's clean. Then spread it out on paper towels.
Reclaiming the salt. He literally took like ice cream salt, I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, pretty sure it was ice cream salt. And he put raw shrimp in the shell, did a layer of salt, did 2 things of salt and heated them up in the oven with nothing in them, and then pulled them out hot, put the raw shrimp in, and then dumped the other layer. So there's layer of salt, raw shrimp, layer of salt, and then cook them in the salt, and it makes them very tasty. That's what he's talking about.
Put it on a clean pan and back in the warm oven. It'll be good as new. Or you could take about 1 1/4 pounds of that, put it in a pot along with 2 quarts, that's 4 pounds of water, and 2 pounds of small fingerling potatoes. Bring to a boil. Now, this procedure hails from New York State, where salt is produced from brine springs, which develop when natural spring water passes through a large salt deposit on the way to the surface. Now, some of these springs contain so much sodium chloride that they are saturated, meaning that they're like 25% salt, well, maybe 26. That's about the most the water can hold in a dissolved state.
Okay, so the next question for number 22, a saturated solution of salt water is 25 to 26% salt. So that means that water can hold about 26% salt.
Now, salt works like these have been in, Lake Onondaga, New York, is essentially a spigot for a massive underground brine deposit. Many of the towns around that area, like Syracuse, were born of that salt business. Even the Erie Canal was dug primarily to move salt. Eventually, the boiler's need for fuel deforested the area, turning New York's salt boom to bust. There are 2 things I really love about this procedure. For one thing, the potatoes cook very quickly. That's because the water is so dense with dissolved salt that the boiling point has risen from 212 degrees to 226 degrees.
Okay, so that's the next question. Salt makes the water more dense, which raises the boiling point. NSE, dense.
A very, very big difference. The other thing I love is that they're going to be perfectly seasoned. That's because of the salt. The only catch to this procedure is that since there are different sizes, you're going to have to kind of pull the little ones first and check them, then the medium ones. Just slide in a paring knife. If you feel bare resistance, you're good to go. Oh, and here's a little serving suggestion. Let them cool on a rack. You'll be rewarded with a microscopic layer of salt crystals. Ready for butter and chives, I'd say. Yum.
Just like the fancy ones at Red Lobster. Yeah, yum.
Although everything tastes better with a little salt on it. It's salt's unique preservative power, which more than any other force shaped our modern world. Oh, you don't believe that from a TV cook? Well, fine. Maybe you'll believe it from a nutritional anthropologist. You're on, Deb.
Alton, salt's influence on humankind is so all-encompassing, I don't know where to begin.
Well, why don't you just pull out a few contrasting high points, and from that we'll extrapolate the whole. Continue.
Okay. At least 1 million years ago, animals would track down the streams to the salt licks, and the humans would...
This is a visual medium. You need
props.
What do you suggest, Mr. DeMille?
Well, now that you asked, let's take a ride. Come on. Ladies first. Please watch your hands and feet. Please bring the safety bar firmly across the lap. Ready to go, are we?
He's so silly.
Early man tracked animals by following them to natural salt outcroppings called licks. The paths they cut eventually became trails and cart paths and even major roadways. Some cities grew into world powers because of salt. Take Venice, for example. In the first millennium, it grew from being a small fishing village on the banks of the Po River up into the richest, most powerful city-state in the world for centuries. And that was all because their doge, that's what they called their king, used military force to funnel all the salt in the region through Venice.
Just so you know, they didn't have tanks back then.
Every ounce of it.
Why bother taxing something as common as salt?
It's perfectly taxable because everybody needs it. Have you ever heard of la gabelle? It was a tax that the French crown placed on salt. It was widely hated because it was disproportionately hard on the poor people. And it spawned a huge salt smuggling empire that eventually had to be fought with by a secret salt police.
What happened?
Oh, well, it became a factor in the French Revolution.
Just like the French to fight over a spice.
Oh, Americans, too. Now, during the American Civil War, one of the strategies of the Northern forces was to destroy the salt works of the Confederacy because they needed salt to cure meat. And without meat, they couldn't feed their army. And as Napoleon said,
armies march on their bellies.
All right, so that is number 24. During the Civil War, one of the Union strategies was to destroy the salt works of the Confederate States. And the last one they attacked was in Saltville, Virginia, where they were successful in their third attempt at attacking. This prevented the Confederacy from being able to preserve meats to feed you can put army, soldiers, anything like that. My phone is ringing, so I'm going to go answer it. All right, so I went ahead and advanced it to question 25. So question 25 wanted to know what the homemade Play-Doh recipe was. So here it is. To make homemade Play-Doh, mix half a cup of salt with 1 cup of flour, 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil, and a half a cup of water. So we'll put that in our sheet here. We've got half a cup of salt, 1 cup of flour, 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil, and half a cup of water. And then if you want it to be colored, you can add a few drops of food coloring, but make sure you use a spoon at first because otherwise your hands will be stained. Okay, we're finally at the last one. Most of the salt produced in the United States is used for de-icing roads, keeping winter roads ice-free. And then there is a bonus. Normally, you would have gotten to see all 4 things that he cooked. There was only one that was included in this video. So hopefully maybe you remember the one thing that he cooked. All right, it's a bonus. I'm not going to give it to you. All righty, that's it. Have a lovely day. Make good decisions. Whew, bye.